My name is Eugene Hernandez from the Film Society of Lincoln Center, and I want to welcome you all to the 50th New York Film Festival and welcome you all to the Eleanor Bunin Monroe Film Center. We're excited about all of the programs we're doing this weekend, but this one is a particular highlight for me and for a number of people who work with me at the Film Society. How many of you are attending your first program of this weekend, of this Convergence program? This is your first one, I had a feeling. Well, welcome. I want to bring up someone to help me introduce this, and I'm going to introduce our moderator in a moment. If I could bring up Julian Quo-Gross. The reason I'm bringing Julian up is because he was actually instrumental in helping us make the determination or the decision to have this program today. And it was through a series of conversations that we had with Julian and his mom that led to bringing the guests that we're about to bring and to all of us being here. So I want to ask you one question. I already told you I was going to ask you this. But what was it about these particular folks that interested you so much so that you wanted to encourage your mom, encourage us to have this program here today?
Well, what actually happened was I just showed it to her on YouTube and then she decided to. But I thought it was like really crazy what they did. And I just think it was extraordinary, and I just was like awestricken when I found it out, so I showed it to my mom. And yeah, it just kind of escalated through the ranks of people deciding to add it on.
I've heard from your mom that you spend a lot of time watching some of these videos. What is it about these particular videos that makes them stand out for you more than others, or what is it that makes them so unique that you spend so much time on them?
Well, I spend a lot of time on YouTube in general, so yeah. But I just, I guess, I don't know, it gives me information, for one thing, and yeah, I find it it's like what I do for fun, unlike most people, what like normal things do, like play chess or something, which I actually do also, but I do that, but like whenever it's like raining out, I just like start like put earplugs in and just stare at the computer screen. So yeah, so.
Thank you, Julian, and I hope you and other folks here will ask some questions later. But let me bring up the moderator of our conversation today and the guy who will kind of set the stage and engage us in a discussion and a bit of discovery this afternoon. We're really excited about this program. Thank you for coming. I hope to see you at other Convergence programs this weekend and at other programs throughout the New York Film Festival. Grab a brochure on your way out. And the festival continues for another 16 days through October the 14th, so come back. Please join me now in welcoming, and I said to him before the program, the man who wrote the book on this particular topic, or on much of what we're talking about this whole weekend. Please join me in welcoming Frank Rose.
Thanks, Eugene. Hi. So yeah, I wrote the book, I guess. The book is called The Art of Immersion, and it's essentially a book about how the internet is changing storytelling. And the short answer to that is by making stories nonlinear, by making them participatory, and by making them immersive. So the question then becomes, so what's a participatory story? How do you participate in a story? Well, one way is for stories to become game-like, and that is a big part of what's happening here. We're seeing a lot of boundaries being blurred, and one of these boundaries is the sort of dividing line between stories and games. It's like stories are becoming games, and games are becoming stories. As I was working on this book, I got kind of fixated on trying to understand the relationship between games and stories. And I spoke to a lot of game developers, people like Hideo Kojima, who did the Metal Gear Solid series, and Cliff Bleszinski, who did Gears of War. But it wasn't really until I interviewed Will Wright that I began to get a clear understanding of what was going on here. Now, people like Kojima and Blazinski, they're really big film fans, and like filmmakers, they're really focused on telling a story. The Sims, which is the game that Will is most famous for, is really entirely different. It's not so much a story as it is a simulation engine. It's as you're playing it, you're not following right script. You're creating characters, and you're setting parameters, describing the characters, and then the game kind of takes over and determines what happens next. So in the process, that really generates stories. Now, it can be argued that stories, movies, books, and so forth, are really simulations as well. The difference is that the storyteller is in control. When I talked to Wright, what he said was that games and stories are really like two sides of a coin. He said the deeper aspect is model building. We're always building models of the world to help us predict what's going to happen. Play is one of the primary ways in which we build models, he said. I think storytelling lives alongside play as a mechanism for building models. So you have things like Star Wars action figures and lightsabers, in which the story really creates a framework for play. And the Sims, too. The Sims gives rise to stories in the same way. As Wright said, we have these toy experiences, which we call play. And through storytelling, we share experience that other people have had. So they're really, as he said, two sides of the same coin. Now, Minecraft is like The Sims in that it's a sandbox game, meaning that you, the player, tell the story. You're not following a script. And it places you in a world. The game places you in a world which sets parameters for you. So you're in a box, a sandbox, if you will. And within that box, you have a great deal of freedom. So that brings us to the Voxel Box. And we have Ridgedog and KupoKupo who are going to join me, and we're going to talk about Minecraft and the Voxel Box.
Thank you, Frank. Frank, my voice cracked.
Okay, so tell me about Minecraft. What's the point of the game? How does it work, and why is it so? What's its appeal? Why is it so popular?
Well, like I mentioned before, the real appeal of Minecraft is essentially pushing the boundary. In our respect, and telling stories, and you can do many different things. You can do player versus player combat, and you can create a single player world where you play by yourself, or you can do cooperative building together. And Minecraft is a game where together you take these blocks. They're 1 meter by 1 meter blocks, and you place them. Or you remove them, and it's that's the essentials of the game.
So it's really just building blocks.
Well, creatively, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's building blocks. It's just like when we were kids.
Right.
But building blocks that you can paint to have anything on them, or any color. Building blocks that have different shapes, and they'll have different functions in like a survival aspect if you're fighting monsters,
right?
Or in a creative aspect, if you want to create something, you could use something that was a stair, mm-hmm. as eaves for the side of your home.
Right.
So
right.
Everything has multiple purposes.
Right. By the way, I think we have some images from Minecraft. If we could start that slideshow, that would be great. So we'll sort of run in the background. I'm sure most of you know what it looks like, but we'll show off a few things here. So Minecraft was created by this guy in Stockholm named Marcus Persson, right?
Yeah, Notch. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So tell me about him.
Well, I learned about Notch and Minecraft when I used to play a game called Dwarf Fortress, which I absolutely loved, but it was kind of it used text. But it was block-based. Somebody said, oh, try Minecraft. It's three-dimensional. It's just like that. And so Minecraft was in creative at the time, which was before its current iteration, and it was still placing blocks. And he started selling it while it was in beta, and you could buy it cheaper back a long time ago, but that kind of funded his company and him to add to the game and to make it better, and that's become Mojang as it is now. And they have other games.
Mojang is its company.
Yeah, the company that he started
Right.
After creating Minecraft, and they've continually developed a game, and the continual development of the game is really what keeps people, because it's nice to know everything there is to know, but still have new things coming out.
Right.
You know, you're like, oh, I already know everything about the game, but oh, there's new things
Right.
this week. Oh, gotta test them out, and so that really keeps the community. So Notch, Marcus, he's the one who started it all with
Right.
the Minecraft.
Right. So this is obviously, I mean, basically what he's done is sort of created a world, right? Or more maybe like the building blocks for a world.
To coin a phrase.
Yeah, right.
He built the tools to do so. He went about it uniquely in that he never stopped anybody from modifying his game. You know, the core game itself you can't share. Of course, it's to be purchased.
Right.
You have to log into an online server, and it authenticates you. It decides whether or not you actually have paid for the game. Aside from that, you can do with the game as you like, and that encourages people that know Java, which is the programming language it's coded in, or that want to change something about the game, to change it. And so people, they're like, I like Minecraft, but I wish it did this. Somebody may have already had that idea and said, I wish it did too, and then programmed it, and you can go online and download it. Or if you know the how-to, you can do it yourself. And there are plenty of people here even who have done that same thing. They're like, they go into the code and watch a tutorial and change the game how they want to play.
Right.
And so, as one of them said, you know, you can shoot bows and arrows at somebody, or you can join another server and shoot paintballs at people. And it's like a paintball game. So
Right.
the modification is really... not a lot of games allow you to do that. They don't let you modify their game and then encourage others to do so. And so everything down to the way things look, the colors of blocks and addition of new blocks and the core game mechanics, he just allows it, and it took off. It was perfect from the get-go.
So obviously something like, you know, World of Warcraft, they have a central server that you log into. In this case, that's not the case.
No.
I mean, you have your own server.
Yeah, Minecraft doesn't run off of one server.
Right.
There are authentication servers where you log into with your password. That's run off of one server, but everything beyond that is servers hosted by members of the community themselves. So we run a server called the Voxel Box, and people don't connect to Minecraft servers that are run by Minecraft. They connect to the Voxel Box or whatever. Once they log in, they can do single player or multiplayer, but members of the community run those servers.
I see. Kupo, how did you get into Minecraft?
Right. Well, I started playing Minecraft because a friend of mine had always told me, hey, you should check out this game. It's really cool, and you could do anything you want. And to me, that's perfect because I don't like having any definitions of what I have to do in game. So I came on, and about 8 pages back on the Minecraft forums, I saw this place called Voxel Box. They had these amazing builds on there. I saw these dragons, and I was just like, that's not possible. You can't do that. I wasn't thinking any of the things that you could do. I saw these blocks, and originally I thought things had to be a bit more blocky because that's what I'd seen out in the community.
Right.
So I find the Voxel Box, and I come on, and I'm just like, this isn't Minecraft. This is something completely different. And as a designer, coming into it and seeing stuff like this, it, just sparked off from there. I mean, the way we do things on the Voxel Box, it's 3D modeling. It's just crazy in-depth design. We take it more as game design than actual just fooling around on the game, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We do fool around.
Oh,
We
yes.
definitely do fool around, though.
We do.
And you of course actually started the Voxel Box.
Yeah.
So why is it called the Voxel Box?
Well, it's a turn of phrase. A voxel, if you're familiar with what a pixel is, it's the individual little squares on your cell phone that can show different colors. You know, when you zoom in or on your TV, that's a pixel. Well, a voxel is a three-dimensional pixel. It's a square. And a box is a box, which is the same as a square. And the computer it's run off of is called a box. So we're all like, oh, this is so cool. It's a bunch of different names. But it's all Voxel Box because you've placed these blocks and they're voxels. So
right.
we thought it was pretty cool, I guess.
So you've got like really big voxels, 1 meter square.
1 meter square, 3 by 3, 3 feet by 3 feet voxels, yeah, all over the place.
Right. Okay. So how did you start this? How did you come to start this server? I mean, it's one thing to start playing the game. It's another thing to. This is a pretty big responsibility, right?
Yeah, it was a big step. I had a group of friends and I that were members of another server, and the host of that server, and like I said, the community members are what run these servers, and so there's nothing that stops them from being a jerk if they want to be. But you know, those are the servers that eventually run into the ground quickly because there's nothing that keeps a player to your server other than what you provide.
Right.
And so if somebody else is doing something better, providing something better, they can go there free of charge because, or not. You know, there are servers that require you to pay, but he was starting to be one, and we decided we can start our own. We can do this ourselves. And so I started running it from my own computer, and then personally I funded a larger machine and then better internet and now the actual entire Voxel Box, instead of running it from a host like most places will do, I have done and always will run the Voxel Box from my home so that I can, if there's ever a problem, I just fix it right there.
Right.
Most people run it online. So that's kind of what has kept the Voxel Box on the edge of things, is that when we program something, we can change it right then.
So the Voxel Box, in a real world sense, is basically a box in your bedroom.
It's a box. It's actually right next to the kitchen.
Oh, okay.
But close enough.
Okay, right.
It's just right there.
Right.
Anyways, we started it 2 years ago in October 2010, the 13th, right before my birthday. We had a big cake day where I had a big Minecraft cake. It was really cool. And
Square, I trust.
no, it was a big circle. It was a circle. You can do circles as long as you build them big enough.
Okay.
That's what we do. Is creatively, you can put down 5 blocks by 5 blocks by 5 blocks and make it a home. You know, a square. And this is the house. Or you can put down 150 by 300 and make a mansion and have it be really detailed and say this is a house. And those are the kind of things where you're like, much better. And that's what we've always encouraged since we started in October.
Right.
2010, yeah.
And Kupo, when did you discover the Voxel Box?
February 2011. So
Okay.
not too far after
Right.
they became the Voxel Box.
And so how did you join? I mean, it's not like you can just sign up to play on the Voxel Box.
Yeah, back then it was a little bit different. The process I had to go through is, you know, there was an open guest area. Anybody could log on to the server. So you have to go in the guest area and you have to make a build, and one of the admins will come out and they'll say, hey, this is really good. You should join the server, and you're whitelisted.
In her case.
In
her case, we said it was really good.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you. But now we have a little bit of a different process. You know, you come onto our website and you have to actually fill out an application form because, you know, we have so many people actually coming onto the server now that it's really hard for us to keep up with it personally. Like, we want to have a good experience for everybody that comes onto the server. So the best way we could do that is, you know, this application process. It filters out people. That sounds bad, I'm sorry. It's a filter because you have to answer some questions, you know. You have to say, you know, what do you want to do in Minecraft? We want people to come onto the server and think creatively, you know, do something different that stands out from every other place out there.
Right. So as you said earlier, a lot of the Minecraft servers are basically about players fighting players. You see this as sort of a creative sandbox.
Well, we do tend to have our jolly evenings. We'll turn that on and fight each other just for fun. But then, you know, when the day comes and everybody goes back to what we're doing, our server has no PvP enabled. You can't injure another player unless, like, you bury them in dirt or something, which happens all the time. Or or anything similar, you can't really run up and punch another player because people that build creatively together don't necessarily, the same community doesn't translate to a community of people that fight with each other. And it definitely, the bonds are much stronger with a creative community as well. And so rather than fight each other, it's just so much more fun to go and to say, I want this to be an awesome castle, and here's the story, and then you work off of it with each other. But you know, if we did do PvP, it wouldn't be as much fun, I don't think.
Right. So Kupo, what was your first build?
Okay, so the first thing I did on the server, I wanted to do something different, and so I was speaking to Rich at the time, and he says nobody has ever made a successful underground build, and so he made this giant hole in the ground, and he said, make something creative here. So
I used a tool called Voxel Sniper, and we're in the guest area, which is a cordoned off area that people must build in if they're guests. They can't modify blocks outside of that area. They can't modify the world, but they can visit. But in order to be able to build outside of that, you have to build within it first. Right. And I'm like, nobody's ever built anything underground that's any good. And this was early on. And she's just like, oh, okay. And I'm like, build here. And this is me casting my magic wand called Voxel Sniper. And I make a massive hole in the ground, and then I cover it with just a layer of dirt.
Then you sat there for 4 hours and watched me work. You sat there, you,
I'm like
a couple of our programmers were sitting there. So talk about pressure. I didn't know, I was just like, oh, geez, this guy's watching me. What am I going to do? I have to think really fast on the fly. And I just came up with this crazy underground garden that actually started just a lot of this stuff. We actually have a clip of it in later on if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right.
So.
Well, shall we run the underground garden clip?
Well, yeah, we can actually run a brief history of the server I have.
Okay.
That way you guys can see, what exactly the Voxel Box is, because we've been running, a slideshow of all kind of our stuff. This is work from, all eras of the Voxel Box. But in the slide or in the movie, I sort of themed it a little bit so that you guys can see the progression of the server, where we started out.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's that? What's it called? The video that we're going to see?
A brief history of the Voxel Box.
A brief history of the Voxel Box. Okay,
Yeah.
great. If we can run that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind if I make comments while the video is going. This one is Citadel City. This was my first build. It has over 20,000 blocks placed one by hand. And this is the Goliath roller coaster. It's all wood.
Where are we here?
Those are the Citadel docks. And this one here, this is called Dragon's Run. This was one of the first organic builds made
That's what got me interested in the box.
by Featherblade. It was just a few dragons. And this was the famous minecart ride from the guest area to the Citadel that guests were allowed to ride on directly after they were gray-listed, or white-listed.
Yeah.
This is a very dark image. Arios was a Greco-Roman area where very wide city streets, very Spartan.
Is this? Are we in space here?
No, this is Dragonwood. This is Drogonwood. This is
Drogonwood.
in woods. It's hard to see. It's pretty bright.
Right. Okay.
Can we get that one turned down? I don't know if it's too bright. Is it hard to see for you guys?
Can we dim the lights a little bit?
Yeah, just this one is.
Yeah. Right.
Ah, perfect.
It's actually quite dark. It wasn't that dark on recordings.
All right, so this is the this is called the Dauntless, and the story goes when at the end of 2011, I packed everybody onto the Dauntless and began a journey for a new area, and then drunkenly crash landed in the guest area that exists in our new world. where everybody unloaded and started building. That's the story. That's how you create those sort of stories, and everybody spread out from there and started making these different areas here. We'll be uploading these as well to our YouTube channel, so you can watch these afterwards if they're hard to see here. This is called Heaven's Peak. It's actually above kind of a micro scale map. So you look down on the world. This is the teleport to space. It's a rocket taking off. And here we see some trees that are in space. What's nice about our server is we also have mods that let you turn up the brightness in game. So if ever anything is too dark, you can see it in game, no problem. So that was a good dark video.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Great. So, so how does the storytelling aspect come in? You mentioned how does the storytelling aspect come in? You mentioned setting off for new lands.
Well, it's when you build something in Minecraft, it's always more fun to add a story to it. You can't make a building and then like you're building a house. You can't make a building and then just put a toilet, sink, oven, done, walk away. It's easier to say what type of person would live here, who would be here. This is the governor's house, or this is the courthouse, and this is the type of situation. And you have to envision what's going to happen. And those types of situations are much more fun when you include other people. And so what we do is we use the Voxel wiki, which is a wiki where people can go and share their stories. And others, you know, it goes hand in hand with the server, and that's where people will share the stories of what they've built. And if you want to, you can put the slideshow back on. Yeah, it's got a lot of slides. And when you build these things, join the story I told you last night about them. So one of my favorite stories that ever took place on the Voxel Box was called the Voxel Arms Race. And I loved being witness to this. But what happened was somebody started building a nuclear silo next to their town. And it was a modernist town. And somebody else found out about it, and they posted it on the wiki or something. And suddenly, it became a huge deal. And everybody started building their own weapons of mass destruction. But, you know, nobody would know about it. You can't really tell everybody you got weapons of mass destruction under your town. So they would put it on the wiki like, this is my arsenal, but they wouldn't show where it is. And if you went to their village or their town, you could be sure it was there. If you dug underground or if you looked around, there might be an opening sort of silo or something. And they would theme it. So, you know, there were Western towns that had, like, you know, cowboys with guns. And then there were medieval towns that had siege machines and trebuchets, and those were their weapons. They were like bordering their lands to protect them from the coming events. And they all themed it together and put it on the wiki, and this lasted for like the better part of a week until it reached a stalemate when Daisy, my dog, was placed as one of the weapons. And it was just Trump. It was Trump all. They just won. But it's the type of story where everybody can participate that really brings everybody together. And another quick good example is we have something called Voxel Court, where whenever there's a dispute between members, rather than making them hash it out or taking them aside, we'll impromptu build a courthouse, and then I'll be judge, or somebody will be judge. And we'll have a prosecutor. And immediately people begin signing up for these. Oh, I want to be bailiff, or I'm going to be jury. And they sit there and they'll like take in-game items of a piece of paper or a clipboard, and they'll sit there and stand there and pretend like they're taking notes. And the bailiff will be like, honorable judge presiding. And the whole thing will take place as if it were sort of this event. And then it would be transcribed onto the wiki, and so that those stories are there for people to read and to experience. And it's always in a joking manner. And everybody's always friends afterwards. There's nobody's actually hostile.
Right.
Those are the types of things that we don't entertain on the server.
So, but what happens? I mean, there must be cases where people don't follow the rules. What happens then?
Well, we've never really been a pay-to-play server. And I've always sort of ruled the server rather selfishly. But what I've done is when someone doesn't fit in to a community that we've built from the ground up, when someone doesn't fit in, it's just, there's always more people that want to fit in. I mean, you may be a really fantastic builder, but we also have a community. We're a group of friends, everybody there. I can meet someone new on the Voxel Box for the first time after they've been there for maybe a few days and know that I will get along with that person and that they will get along with others, because when you're in the guest area building, not only are you building, you're also introduced to the group of people that's there. And, some people, they go and they're like, this isn't really for me. I'd rather go fight monsters or something. And then they go somewhere else. And that's okay. There's lots of servers that are run.
Right.
But ours is just, it's our own flavor of server.
Right. So what's an ejectable offense?
Oh, being mean to other players.
Okay.
We'll go with that one. Building poorly isn't a problem, actually. Probably one of the things that I most prize is our ability to teach others. And Kupo especially, she makes those videos.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the point of our community isn't, to be exclusive, to close out others. We want to include as many people as we can, like we've always said. So our guest area is aimed at helping people. We want to tell people, here's what you can do to make your build better. And, we'll take time out of our schedules to go out there and we'll do that sort of thing. We'll make videos on the side.
Not me. I'm no good at building, so I don't give advice.
Well, everybody has their own specialties. Like if somebody would have a redstone build or something, that's something you would look at. I have no idea what's going on there.
Yeah. So, and then we have those people. We have multiple tiers and ranks of people, and it's a very wide and varied community. But we all fit well together. And I want to say, if there is ever a problem with somebody getting into the server, it's not because we don't want members. But like I said, I run it from my home, and I pay for it.
Right.
And it's not something where I can allow 1,000 people on at a time. And so we want to make sure that we can be laid back with the people we have, and not worry, not have to personally vet all of them. I can be sure that people that I've chosen, that have chosen others, that eventually choose who gets into the server, will be able to, at the very end of the day, relate with me, because.
So you don't personally decide who comes in?
Actually, I haven't personally looked over. A gray list or a new member application for almost a year now.
That's what I'm doing pretty much every day.
People like Kupo help, but the thing is that I have the utmost trust that people that are in charge of that sort of thing will pick people that I know will fit really well, because I know them really well.
Right. So these are the admins, obviously.
The admins, yeah.
So how do the admins get chosen?
Well,
I don't even want to say how half of them got chosen.
Well, okay. So on the Voxel Box, we've always done things differently. I did. A lot of people will choose admins based on their what they're capable of, or what they've done in the past. And I always just kind of pick people that I like the best, whatever. And but their permissions are not they're not required to do anything. So I just pick a lot of people that I really like and I know will have the best interest, and then they will sort of do what they like, but most of the time it's always good for the server.
Right. So do we have questions, by the way, if anybody would like to ask these guys?
I would love to do questions and answers.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you. Yeah, you.
I actually haven't done any hands-on, but I watch my kids do it all the time, a lot.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at these vistas, and are all these blocks placed one by one, or are some of them algorithmically generated?
Well, on a regular server, or on a regular Minecraft, or what we call vanilla, what the game is itself you place a block one by one. But like I said, the game that Notch created is a platform for modification. And we have our own modders that will create plugins and that will create mods that will allow people to place blocks one by one if they choose, or paint blocks in one by one, or using a plugin called Voxel Sniper, which allows them to paint and generate terrain in a three-dimensional, like you might do with the paint program on Microsoft Paint. You take a paintbrush and you draw a mountain. The same thing can be done in game with this brush. So none of it is, there is algorithmically generated terrain when it begins, but creatively, a lot of the time that gets demolished and replaced.
And then so,
Yeah, sure.
so it's really a community more than a server. It's the server is just a mechanism for
The community of Minecraft is the NFL one. Does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Think of it like the NFL. A community of the server like the Voxel Box can be considered a team, but the community of Minecraft as a whole is like the entire NFL, And so, but there's no obligations. One person may be a member of several servers and root for several, but really everybody, for the most part, everybody just loves the game and loves the rest of the players in the entirety of the community. And I think it sold like 50 million or 20 million copies now.
Right.
So that's crazy.
So in your space, when somebody's say, taking on creating a building, do you find that many people start to join in and actually work together in a group to build something like the ship there?
Yeah, well, there's a hierarchy on the server. Things like the ship will be built by one person, and they'll write all about it. But you want to talk about the hierarchy?
Yeah, it all depends. We have the community for everybody, but everybody has their own different style of what they like to do. Some people do enjoy building with others, and they welcome people into their projects. They'll make one building and they'll say, hey, would anybody like to try building in this style today? And that'll be awesome. But then there will be another person who says, okay, I only want to build with so-and-so because we work well together, and we have a strict order of how we do things, and that's pretty much what I do most of the time. It's just easier for me to handle something like that, when it's just not having to pass notes between everybody.
Well, that's one of the charms, is that you can say, I want to make the bathroom, and the other guy says, I want to make the garden, and then somebody else says, I'm going to make a pig pen. And then you all split up and you do whatever you want to do. And but as a whole, you can contribute to and then at the end of it, you say, we built this together. And this is, for example, a one build of a ship. But then you get things like entire continents where people would individually manage a city. So,
In your videos, how do you put your voice in?
in recording my voice, I use a microphone.
Okay.
The what? Oh, I use Audacity. It's free. I love Audacity.
Okay. Yes.
Have you ever had someone hack your server and then you've had to shut down the server for a while and kind of figure stuff out?
This is a bit of a sensitive issue because, like I said, the Voxel Box is not like other servers. We have had people attempt to hack the server, as any server would. And the only thing that really affects something like the Voxel Box is a DDoS attempt, as would affect any server and anything. Any website can be taken down by a DDoS. So that's just that. But the server itself and its integrity has never been compromised by a hacker, because mainly we have one of our admins is a member of the Bucket team, which now they were all hired by Mojang, which made the game. So we always have the most up-to-date security measures. And part of the way that we don't get hacked is by making sure that we are friends with all members of the community, which includes people like Team Abolition, for instance, and some other people that may be referred to as griefing teams. Our server isn't. The trouble with griefing the Voxel Box is the people there don't care if you destroy something.
We
Because
destroy
they're-
most of the stuff ourselves anyway.
Yeah, we erase it when we're done, and we rebuild. And that's the point. Is it's not the end result that's fun; it's the building. So if you were to destroy it, it's not like they had to try hard to get those blocks of diamond. They could just spawn in more. And it's not a real big problem.
Right.
And what's it called? Also, I don't think a racing is as fun as burning stuff down.
We have special tools specifically for that.
Don't look up keywords Ridgedog burning down guest builds. Don't look that stuff up. That's a good question.
I do.
Which one is yours?
Pastry Pirates. Can we bring it up, please?
Okay.
Yeah, can we bring up the Pastry Pirates video, please?
This should be a higher brightness.
Yes, this should be fun.
Right, okay.
And we get the lights down. And the Pastry Pirates video. This is really cool.
So this is my personal favorite build. It's a project between myself and my building partner, Featherblade. And we actually made this for a building competition about, I guess, last year. It was in December. And it was a 1-month building competition. And you had to build in a 250 by 250 box area. And they said, go wild, make whatever you want. So we decided to make something that you typically don't see in Minecraft. We wanted to make something that was extremely macro scaled. We wanted the player to feel exactly like an ant whenever they were in the world itself. So we made this world that everything is super huge. And what we did is we decided halfway through with this to actually make this an adventure map, because we wanted it to be more than just somewhere where you could walk through. We wanted it to be a playable game. So within everything itself here, you can walk through the world and you have a storyline that you follow. So in essence, everything here is just a big sandbox. There's stories that you can follow with different characters. You don't have to follow any specific sort of way. You just go and explore as you want, I guess. So this is just a little bit of a, I guess, gameplay example. You can walk through all these different things.
To note, these are things like these. These are flowers, and you're very small. Your character is very small in this world, and there are birds in this clock house. But you're in a garden. The whole thing takes place in a garden, and you're very small. That's the entirety of this build is on a macro scale.
Yeah, something like this. This took us, this is all done by hand. This is on a vanilla server, and this is just done between 2 people. So it took us 1 month to build. So it's a lot of, you have to think a lot of it, because it's a lot of crazy ideas. And for a build like this, it's all about detail. You need to have awesome detail after awesome detail. You can't just skimp out and say, well, this area, I don't really want anything special here. You have to think of how you would fill it in a natural world, because you want it to, represent what it's actually supposed to be. A lot of the things may look like, tiny things like little flowers. They aren't important, but if you take them out, you're gonna have these bare spots that just look terrible. You need to have continuity throughout the whole thing. You can't, like I said, you can't forget one detail. And that's what makes Minecraft fun for me, because you have so many things that you could do. I mean, it's just it's impossible to run out of ideas.
A lot of things on the Voxel Box will actually be built on a macro scale, where you won't see someone build a singular house. They may start with a house, but then they'll build a city, and then they'll turn that city into, they'll begin to flesh out the story, and then they'll have people join in with the building of the city. To answer your question quite simply for myself, my most favorite build is my current build, whatever it is. If I'm interested, it's my favorite. I usually build things with redstone, which is like the programming inside the game. But I just recently did something called Voxelopoly, where we built a very large Monopoly game, but we call it Voxelopoly. And we had if you know who In the Littlewood is, Martin, we just played it on his live stream a little while ago, and it's Monopoly where you go around the board and you roll massive dice, and it's all in the game. It's really fun. But whatever my most recent build is my favorite, because it's what's keeping me most interested.
Right. More questions? Yes.
Oh yeah. I'm not a good boy when it comes to hacked clients. Now on the Voxel Box, it doesn't matter so much because we make mod pack ourselves, which modifies a client. We provide to the community a modification program which changes their basic Minecraft client so that they can better use the tools that we provide. So it's specifically geared towards players that'll visit our server or other multiplayer servers. So like, it incorporates things that might be considered cheating for other servers, like the ability to see a person at maximum distance. Typically, Minecraft will sort of fade a person away as they're too far away from you, but we kind of make it so that you can see them at maximum distance. But I love, like I said, we're friends with all members of the community, and I personally get to try many different types of hack clients. And whether or not I visit other servers with those clients, I won't talk about. Maybe.
Right. Okay. More questions? Yes. In the back.
We've recently put statistics on our logins to check and see where people were logging in from. And I think that we had very, very few third world countries that didn't have any logged in players on our server. We've had over 5,000 guests that have been allowed in the server, of which we've had over 2,000 become members. And they're all over the world, everywhere.
It's a really nice group effort because, you know, on our own admin team, we have people from Canada, the UK, and New Zealand. So, you know, we're really everywhere. And, you know, having this type of community, you have people, you know, on it all hours of the day. Like, if you go on right now, it's busy. There's lots of stuff going on.
Prime time. There's a lot. You know as much as they're willing to tell you. Now the thing is that we do have online. You only know somebody as much as they're willing to tell you, and it's just as it's not like something where you get their credit card information or whatever, or their Visa, but you know, we have basic requirements for our server, a set of rules, if you will, that you must participate or you must follow in order to stay as a member, and so. They usually do a pretty good job of filtering out people that would be unsavory or not wanting something you'd want to be around.
It's interesting though because, you know, talking all this and everything, you know, we've been working together for almost 2 years now, and this is the first time we've ever gotten to actually meet up. That was just yesterday.
Yeah,
so.
We met for the first time yesterday in person. Yeah, just yesterday. It wasn't new though because, I mean. With the growing of Skype and a thing called Tiny Chat and other things, anybody that has a webcam can really get on and talk with each other,
Right.
And be face to face. And to me, it's no real different than talking in something like Ventrilo where it's only voice, because you know I don't really have much else to show for my after my voice. After my voice, there's really nothing extra, but. You know, and you can, and Kupo and I have done video conversations, you know, discussing admin type stuff in Skype all the time. So it wasn't really any sort of big introduction, like, oh, you look really weird. I mean, at least she wasn't like, when we first met, as she probably would have been if we hadn't before that.
You have another question?
Yeah. Have you ever successfully hugged a creeper?
Well, creepers don't explode on the Voxel Box.
So yes.
Yes, I have. One of our admins has also successfully hugged a cactus. There's a picture on our YouTube page about that.
What would you consider guests on the Voxel Box? Would you consider them as members of the Voxel Box?
You're asking me if I think they're subhuman? Underlings? Get to work.
No, I consider guests personally as members because, you know, anytime a person is in our guest area, they're actively participating in the community and, you know, they're making an effort to join up with us. So, you know, there's no set time on how long somebody might be in the guest area. We might have a guest, we've had somebody who was there for over a year once. And, you know, throughout this, you know, we still learn about them.
Guest.
What?
Guest is member.
Yeah. It's just, you're just learning.
You need to earn the ability to build in other areas. Once somebody is a guest, they can build in one small, or not small on our server, but one very large area, and they're only allowed to build or break blocks there. They can visit anywhere to get building inspiration, like the Greco-Roman areas or other shipyards or anything. But once they've done that, done their homework, and they've proven they're able to build, people will come to them from other areas and say, I want you to come build in my area. Or why don't you come and hang out? Or they'll make friends with them, because there's no restriction on chat or the ability to talk with others in game. And then they'll go together and build together, or the member may help the guest become a member. But as a guest, you're kind of under the microscope, but you're full on a member. You're a part of the community at that point.
So we were talking a moment ago about the sort of global nature of the community. How does language work? Does everybody speak English, or?
On our server, there does. There's Minecraft recently released a language pack update where they included so many different languages. My favorite of which, well, of course, second to English is Pirate Speak, which is English, but it's also log into single player, and a lot of R's and matey and Schwabs, but among that there's all the languages that you can think of, and that allowed people from all around the world to begin playing and starting their own servers. And since their community started, anyone in the world can get a server and start it if they've got a fast enough connection to support multiple players. Players can then log into it if they advertise their server, and then they can sort of play together, which is really fun. And there are a lot of servers that start that way and then immediately close, and there are some that start and stay around for a really long time. But
it's not just what you said as well. I mean, the stuff that we're doing in Minecraft, it's design, it's art, it's universal. Anybody can see something and say, that looks awesome, and you don't
as
have
long
any.
as you speak English.
No, you don't have a language barrier on it. You can look at a big dragon and say, oh my gosh, I wish I could do that. And you can study the build itself, and you can look at it, and you can come in and you can try doing stuff like that. There's no limit to it.
And I speak 2 languages, to coin a phrase, English and bad English. So our server is strictly English, but there are hundreds and thousands of servers. And some of my most favorite modifications to the game are coming out of the other countries now, since all of the modifications are cross-language, because the language is only a pack. Right. It's just a little thing on the side. It doesn't change the core programming of the game. Right. It just allows other people to play it. Right. They can make a modification, and you can download it, and you can make, somebody made something where you can throw a firework, and it explodes. It's really cool.
So let's see, more questions?
I know it doesn't really have a place in as far as like organic kind of builds, but do you ever toy around with mods like Red Power that gives you like, let's say it gives you the ability to make like furniture other than just, 3-meter wide chairs?
Maybe one day you'll see what I built on the Tekkit server. The one I speak of. No. The Yogscast Tekkit server.
Are you saying ask if I know the mod, or?
No. Tekkit has Red Power.
No,
And you have the little blocks in there, right? That's what you're speaking of? There are modifications that actually make blocks that are smaller than the 1-meter one, and we've created some fantastic things with that. But they don't have a place in the main server because, like I said, the charm of Minecraft. Or do you want me to?
No.
Yeah, the charm of Minecraft, so that for the parents to understand, isn't that. Wait, let me tell this one.
Understand.
So a lot of people will think, why this game instead of one that has incredible graphics or like Second Life where you can create anything? And I think that the real problem there is that people like to push the boundary and to feel like they're pushing a boundary. And in something like Second Life or another game where it's incredible graphics, unfortunately, there's always somebody better than you. And you think there's some trick I'm not aware of. Or you look at a 3-dimensional caricature in another game like Second Life and you're like, I have no idea how to make that 3D character. How do you put a skin? How do you make the mesh? How do you create that 3D character for the game? And then you're just like, screw it. I'm not gonna do it. But then Minecraft, once you grasp the basic place blocks, you can look at something and you say, oh, well, hey, I know exactly how to build that. I could do that. I could make it better. I could do something that I personally have a taste for, and the ability to see it, and then to recreate it and build it yourself, and put the time in, and have other people want to see it as well, to then think like, to have them think like, oh, I could do that, or then be like, screw it, you know. And so people can always push the boundary with blocks, for instance, where they may have more difficulty learning how to create a three-dimensional character or render meshes or whatever in something like Second Life.
Right. So I think we have time for about one more question.
Over here.
How big is your server, and do you have any limits on how big you make?
Our server, Minecraft in itself has the ability to expand exponentially. I think it's something like 3.5 times the size of the Earth. It can expand because it's generated as you go, and you can go and do anything. Our server, what I do is I create a map with boundaries, and then I label the areas and then let them build in that area. Because it has labels, like I said, people like to push the boundary, so you need to have them there. So I will say, we've had guests that build terrible things, awful, dreadful, and I'm like, no. Your problem isn't that you're building terrible, it's that you're just not restricting yourself. And so I said, okay, here, you can only build in this 20 block wide by 20 block wide by 20 block tall space. Now build something. And he made this really intricate house, where it had everything that a house would have, but he had to think smaller and build within those boundaries. And it was incredible. And so the boundaries of the world, the size of the Voxel Box server, is somewhere close to 200 square miles with the 3 worlds that we have.
So one last question then. What's sort of the most surprising, shocking thing that you've seen happen on the Voxel Box?
That people like it? No, I'm kidding. The way it propagates itself.
How do you mean? So the people come in, people keep building?
Yeah, I mean, look at all these styles and all these worlds that we have here. You know, people are constantly coming up with something. When you open Minecraft, you don't say, okay, I'm going to open Minecraft and I'm going to build in medieval style or in a Greco-Roman style. Minecraft can be anything you want, and people are constantly coming up with new ideas for cities, for any type of build out there, and they're constantly pushing that, and I think that's the awesome part of it.
Sometimes I get lost when exploring, and my most surprising thing on the Voxel Box is when I log in and I don't know where I am.
Does that happen a lot?
Yeah, I type in chat, I'm like, where am I? People will teleport over to where I am, and they're like, I don't know where this is. And I'm like, I'm lost. I'll just wander some more.
Right. Okay, great. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Frank.
Really great to have you join us.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for coming out. Thank you to Frank Rose. Thank you for Ridgedog. Thank you very much to Kupo. And there you go. And thank you all for coming to Convergence and for checking out this great panel. Have a good evening. And another big round of applause for this great group. Thanks a lot. And we actually do have some copies of Frank's book, The Art of Immersion, just out in the lobby. So if you're interested in taking a look, please feel free. Thank you.
If you guys would like to meet up with Kupo and I, we're going to head directly over to the fountain in front of the Lincoln Center, and we'd love to meet, honestly, everybody, even parents who want to come and be like, you're terrible, you banned my son, I slap you in the face. Anybody's welcome to come over and say hi.